funny how you change perspectives on things, because for many years I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't even want to go back to Bowling Green because it was a painful experience.
See, what's crazy about how just the stuff that starts early.
Yeah.
Like it started for you pre-college. It just kind of evolves through college. Then you hold it in.
I never said anything to anybody about the stuff I was going through personally. I'm in a psychiatrist's office with my dad. I was diagnosed with depression. I was hiding, right? And too afraid to share. Mm-hmm.
While still performing and achieving and everything else that you're doing. But the body and the mind, they keep a score.
Not only was I having panic attacks presenting, but I wasn't adding value to my clients.
If you just kind of like let life lead you down a path.
Right.
And you were just following the typical performance path that a lot of us follow.
Sure.
You would never actually put much thought into it. Like, who am I? What do I really want to be?
Build yourself so that you can serve others. If you do too much building of yourself, you're cocky, selfish, everything else. Mm-hmm. If you do too much serving of others, you're not taking care of yourself.
Welcome to First and Focused, the podcast where faith meets leadership. I know you're going to put me on the spot. I don't know what you're going to ask me to say. I'm Mark Greaves, and in each episode, I sit down with business and industry leaders who put God first in their work and stay focused on building his kingdom through their calling. I could sit here and talk with you all day.
Keep up the great work, brother. The Lord is using you powerfully. I love you. I love watching what Jesus is doing in your life.
Well, welcome to the First and Focus show. This is where we interview leaders who are putting Christ at the center of everything they do, staying focused on building the kingdom through their work and their personal lives and just becoming a fully integrated person. Today we are here with my friend, Mr. Jon Giganti.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Dude, thanks.
Big honor.
I've asked you like 3 different times, so I'm glad we finally nailed the time.
I know. Sorry, man. I've been a little
just
busy.
Too in demand.
No. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, you're too in demand.
God is good. There's a lot going on, which is good.
Heck yeah. Good summer so far?
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I can't believe it's ending.
Yeah, no.
School starts next week for the kids, so it's crazy.
Well, when we first met, I told him I hate saying like you're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, no.
But I feel like we're like made from the same yarn or something like that. I've heard that somewhere. Just a lot of similarities in background, whether it's athletics and leadership and just different things that we're interested in. So,
love it.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. All right, let me hit your intro. Everybody gets an intro. I wrote this myself, so you'll have to poke holes in this if I got anything wrong. All right, Jon Giganti, you are the founder and leader of Giganti Group, an organization transforming how leaders and organizations achieve sustainable excellence. Your background prior to starting Giganti Group was a 25-year run with CCC Intelligence Solutions, where you led national accounts, leadership development, had various key positions throughout your tenure. Your time there gave you a set of experiences and life lessons that led you to becoming a USA Today bestselling author of the book With Intention, a guide that has been useful for leaders and companies around the country in developing a more intentional framework to leading individuals and teams. You came to faith in 2015, which was an experience that has since shaped your life and career. You're a former D1 athlete, soccer player, devoted husband, father, and most importantly, a lover and follower of Jesus Christ.
That's right. Amen.
It's pretty good.
Thank you, man. That was perfect. You didn't use AI?
No, man. I never used AI.
That's incredible. I love it. All right.
We've joked on here that I've used AI before, but I don't. I mean, most of the people that come in here, I really respect and know a lot about. So
cool. It's like a lost art, right? Actual writing.
It is. Yeah. And you know the drill. Yeah.
When I wrote my book, it was 2021, 22. So it was like pre-AI.
Yep.
Probably could have saved some money on editing and all that stuff, honestly.
100%. That's the one thing it's good for. Is if you run something through and it's like, hey, look for grammatical errors, look for stuff that I might have missed that just doesn't make sense, like things like that a normal editor would do and help you with.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's got to come from your experiences in your brain, or else it's just, I mean, I wouldn't feel good putting my name on it.
Totally. I use it today a lot. I use Claude mostly. Yeah. And I actually voice text a lot. I just walk and talk. Actually, a lot of my book was done with
saves a lot of time
voice texting. So it does save time, and then you polish it. And maybe too polished sometimes when you're using it.
Well, I think what's also helpful is sometimes an idea hits you in the moment.
Yeah,
but you're like, I've got 2 or 3 things I've got to do right now. And by the time you circle back to like, all right, I wanted to go execute on that, but I forgot.
Right.
I don't know if that's just getting older or what, but you forget so easy. It's kind of crazy, man. Well, it's hard for me to know where to start with you because there's so much to
Wherever
go
you want
on.
to go.
So I want to start in college.
Yeah.
Because like obviously you're a leadership guy, you've been in leadership roles, and then now you're doing your own thing and you've had a lot of success doing things. But I mean, you're just a normal human being like the rest of us that's gone through
Sure.
successes and failures and had anxiety
Lots.
about stuff and second guessed yourself. I mean, it's just the way that
doubt.
it goes.
Yeah.
So when you were at BG playing soccer, you know, you've told me some stories about just adversity that struck and things that you had to get through. And were you following Jesus like deeply at that point?
Gosh, no. Yeah, not until I committed my life to Christ in 2015.
Yeah, take us through that story. I want to hear some of that BG
Sure.
athlete background and kind of some of the things that you were up against and just how that all went.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It's funny how you change perspectives on things, because for many years I didn't want to talk about it. Like, actually, I didn't even want to go back to Bowling Green because it was a painful experience. Looking back now, I'm so happy I went through it. But let me take you back a little bit because I think it's important context. So I grew up in this very Italian family in Cleveland. Amazing childhood. But my dad, when I was in 5th grade, went to the hospital with I got home from school one day and my mom's like, "Hey, Dad's in the hospital, and you know, what's going on?" And so he had a nervous breakdown, is what it was called, and he had a little bit of a falling out with his brother. They had a business together, and so we went to visit him once or twice, and then he came home, and we never really talked about it much, at least to my understanding. Now, look, I'm 5th grade, right? And I go away or the guidance counselor calls me into, you know, my elementary school and says, sitting just like this, like, "John, how you doing? Heard about your dad." And I didn't even think anything of it. This was not intentional. I was just like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, school's great. And it really was. Like, playing soccer, I played all sorts of sports. And I just felt like it was never talked about. And I'm sure there were reasons. I'm sure it was talked about in between my parents, everything else. I was fortunate that, as you playing volleyball, you know, you get pretty good at something, and then what happens? Like, you get the best coaching, you get around better players, and you just get really good at something. And I was really fortunate that I played a lot. I was the youngest of 3 boys. By the way, my dad was a collegiate wrestler, actually wrestled at Bowling Green.
Yeah.
They don't have a wrestling team anymore, so that's a whole nother story. But so it was just in the blood, right? Both my older brothers were collegiate athletes as well. And so sports was everything, and school was everything. You know, it was very demanding. Like, you better get good grades, and both my parents were school teachers too. So you just lock in and you get stuff done. And so I get to actually, my family moved in high school for me to play soccer. I grew up in Cleveland. I grew up in this town called North Ridgeville, but I went to a school called St. Ed's up in Cleveland for 2 years. Not a good soccer team back in the day. They're, I think, a little better now. And my dad and another dad, after one of my club games, had an idea that we would transfer to this school called Brecksville, which is 25 minutes away or whatever. It's so funny looking back because it was very controversial because it's, you know, they were already a good team, and then you have a couple kids transfer in that were some of the better players in town, and so not everybody was super happy.
I'm sure, and you're taking somebody's starting job. Yeah,
and it's soccer, right? Especially soccer in the early 90s. It's still not a revenue producing sport in college or everything else. But you think about identity from that. And it's amazing that my family did that for me. I literally moved with my mom into my aunt's house in Brecksville because we were selling our house just so I could play soccer. And it got investigated by the Ohio Athletic Association, everything. And it was legit. We moved and eventually we sold our house in North Ridgeville, and my mom and dad, we got a condo in Brecksville. Well, we win 2 state championships. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like, such a great experience. Great. I ended up going to BG with 3 of my teammates from Brecksville. Like, that's how we were like, why not stick together and run this back? And we ended up having an incredible team at Bowling Green. So for, you know, a mid-major in the MAC, we were top 15 in the country.
It's pretty cool.
It was amazing. Went to 3 NCAA tournaments. Lost my last 2 years in the Sweet 16. Lost my sophomore year to Wisconsin, who ended up winning the national title. So, you know, being an Ohio State guy, like, we were playing with the big boys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We had beaten Indiana twice. Like, we could play. Well, that environment, because the team was so good. I mean, I don't know how your volleyball team was, but every player was good, right? So, like, you're fighting for spots every single training, and we had a crazy environment where it was very intense. Like, practices, I would say, were harder than games. So I had a pretty good freshman year. but was doing way too much partying. I mean, I think I put on 23 pounds after my freshman soccer season.
Yeah, after season was over, of
right?
course. Yeah.
First time in my life that I didn't have a routine, because I was always like 3 days of training a week and then a game or two on the weekends. All of a sudden you go to college, right? We lost in the MAC final to Miami my freshman year, November 5th, let's call it. I didn't touch a ball until early January. I mean, I got fat. Like I was just partying and eating and everything else. So my summer between my freshman and sophomore year, my parents did relationship very rocky, no faith. And I'm sorry, I'm long-winded here, but I think it's important context.
No, it gives a lot of good background for what's next.
So I'm working a landscaping job and I'm training, and they get in this huge fight and basically ended their marriage. Thankfully I was there. It was getting pretty ugly, and I was able to get my mom out of the house. And first time my dad ever cried in my arms. I mean, it was a very emotional experience.
Yeah.
So I go back to school, and I earned a starting spot. Actually, one of the games early my sophomore year, I was the MVP of one of our tournaments, which is 4 teams come together. So I could play at my best. I was a contributing player, but I started to feel some cracks and chinks in the armor, just mentally a little bit. And at that level, that's the difference. Again, my identity was in a ball and in a sport. And I never said anything to anybody about the stuff I was going through personally. So it was just a pride thing. And I didn't even know it was pride back then, but it sounds so silly. So it's like almost this never show weakness, right? This armor. And it was just, for whatever reason, it wasn't taught to me, but maybe it was caught by just what I observed. And my parents were amazing, so there's no blame on them. My dad came over from Italy at 6 years old, right? Yeah. So like very blue collar. I mean, you figure it out.
Yep.
And I was just, the rest of my career, I was up and down. I would win a starting job and have good games, and then I would be the worst player on the field. And it was just mind boggling to me. I couldn't figure it out. And it was devastating, honestly. 21st birthday, before my senior year, I tried to get help. I felt, and again, I'm numbing the pain because I'm trying to figure it out.
Yep.
I'm in a psychiatrist's office with my dad. I was diagnosed with depression, put on medication. And I stopped drinking because I'm like, all right, I'm taking this medication. And of course I tell all my teammates, hey, I'm getting in the best shape of my life. It's my senior year or whatever. And I did. I went on a starting job, but again, it was very fleeting.
You're not telling them the real story.
Not telling them the real story.
Yeah.
And so it was just this, I was hiding, right? And too afraid to share. And at that point, it was not good. I just couldn't perform. And what happens then, because my identity was in how I performed on the field, I was a basket case, man, because I couldn't produce the sport I grew up loving and playing. So for many years, I hated the game. Had a couple tryouts for some minor league professional teams, and I just wasn't there. And look, this manifested itself, and it's in the book. I could hide it pretty darn well. And so I moved to Chicago, got a pretty good job. That's 25 years with the software company. I got promoted pretty early, was decent at my job. I ended up having panic attacks about midway through my career because all the crap that I never dealt with.
Yeah.
And thankfully I met a strong Christian woman through that process, almost lost her through this process, but she's the one that showed me the power of Jesus Christ. But it wasn't till 39 years old that I actually committed.
See, what's crazy about how just the stuff that starts early.
Yeah.
Like it started for you pre-college. It just kind of evolves through college. Then you hold it in while still performing and achieving and everything else that you're doing. But the body and the mind, they keep a score.
Sure.
You can't.
So true.
You can't bottle it up forever.
Right.
So eventually it comes out.
Yeah.
Well, this is a nice segue because you spent 25 years at CCC, right?
Correct. Yeah. Just under 25. Yeah.
That's not normal. Yeah. And it's actually my next question. I mean, that's most people's career, especially these days. I mean, you see it bouncing around. You go look at somebody's LinkedIn profile and you're like, hey, I want to see what this guy's background is. And it's like 2 years here, 1 year here, 2 years here, 3 years here. And they've got 15 different experiences.
Sure.
And it's hard to know, like, what can this person actually do?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, good point.
they do a little bit of everything all the time.
Right.
You didn't do that. You
Yeah.
rise up the ranks at CCC. What did you learn throughout that process?
Yeah, looking back, I think it was good that I stayed the course and stayed with one company. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. Like, could I have learned from going other places? Probably.
Yeah.
Look, I worked my way up from, I started as a trainer on our software company, moved into like field sales, and then eventually handled different accounts, and then eventually got into leadership later in my career. And it's interesting, right? Because I got promoted pretty early. I was pretty arrogant too, right? That's part of this whole story is like, actually, it's funny because I was a speech champion in high school at St. Ed's my freshman year. Out of 250 kids, I won a speech championship. And I say that, there's no brag. It's that, I mean, I look back, I would wake up every morning and rep with my mom. She's an English teacher. So we would rep out this speech, and I just put the time in. And of course, what happens when you put the time in? Usually something good happens.
Heck yeah.
The next year, I didn't put as much time in. I think I finished in third place. But I thought I was just a natural speaker, honestly. Yeah. And I probably didn't put much time into it going forward. This mic keeps popping me in the face, but I'm staying close to it. And that's part of the story too, because eventually I didn't work hard enough, like prepping for sales presentations. I thought I could just wing it and I could get by.
Yeah.
But again, eventually I got called to the mat, right? Like, not only was I having panic attacks presenting, but I wasn't adding value to my clients. I was really good at building friendships.
Yeah.
But like taking them to the next level, really caring about the business. I was much more caring about my quota and making money and advancing my career than I was about my clients. And it wasn't until panic attacks, I got kicked off an account because I challenged a client I didn't have trust built with. I had another account that I was good friends with that they were going to leave and go to the competition. Thankfully, we had a clause in the contract that prohibited them from doing that. So we at least had a chance to save the business.
Yeah.
And it was like my MBA experience. So all this, and this is all my spiritual journey too, where I realized like I didn't have to have all the answers. I could leverage our team. We had a team of consultants. I didn't have to be the smartest guy in the room, right? Like this environment, company based in Chicago, a lot of smart people. You've been in rooms with many smart
you're
people,
not
right?
as smart as everybody else, and you're like, am I supposed to be here?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's literally like, every Ivy League and Notre Dame and Northwestern, University of Chicago, every you turn, and you almost have this imposter syndrome of sorts. And then you flip it and you try to like, I got to say something in this meeting. I got to show how smart I am.
Yep.
And it was a terrible mindset to have. And thankfully, again, all glory to God through this, when everything broke for me, almost lost at my family, career, everything, I realized, again, giving my life to Christ, read the Bible for the first time in around 2015, front to back.
Yeah.
Power made perfect in weakness, 2 Corinthians changed my life because it's Jesus. Paul asks to remove the thorn from his side, and Jesus says, no, sorry, man, my power is made perfect in your weakness. And I realized at that point that I didn't need all the answers. So it was a full surrender type thing. And that was the start of With Intention, even though it wasn't called With Intention then.
Yeah. You're still 6 years prior to writing that at this point.
Yeah.
So 2015, because one of my questions for you is, what brought you to Christ officially?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like, from an identity perspective, you've gone through Built to Lead at this point in your career, right?
Wait, say that again.
You'd already gone through like the Built to Lead process.
I was going through it. At
that time as well, where identity is so front and center in Built to Lead. Everything else springboards off of it. But if you don't know your I am statements and your I believe statements and like really clear on self, how are you supposed to lead others if you don't even know who you are and what you think about the world that you're participating in? So like you go through that process,
right? But
then also like that process of discovering who you are as a child of God. And who does God say that I am? Give me the 2015 coming to Jesus story.
Well, okay. Well, let me take you back to 2012, 2013. I'm going to talk about being in the right rooms, which is, I know you and I are both believe in
Lucky.
that, right?
Yeah.
Surround yourself with the right people. So I'm, again, almost lose my job, marriage on the rocks. I knew I needed something. So I had explored getting coaches, just reading books, and again, being an athlete, you kind of know all the performance stuff, but I
You start going back to what's comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there where like things hit the fan. It's like, all right, I got to go dial it back in.
Right.
So get back to the fundamentals a little bit.
Totally. So and that's where I met Carrie Oberbrunner, who's my publisher on With Intention. And through that, he had a book called The Deeper Path, which is the guy's written a bunch of books, but you read some of these books and they just punch you in the face. And here was a guy, former pastor, dealt with self-injury, was very upfront about all of it, like was very okay with we'll call it vulnerability, authenticity, whatever you want to call it. So I went through like a 12-week kind of class with him, and I would show up, I think it was at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, a group of 10 other people. And it was like the first time that I thought bigger on stuff. And he had, he actually had Chet Scott come in. We were going to Shawshank, the Ohio Reformatory Prison
where they shot
Shawshank in Mansfield, which is only an hour north of here. So it was like a retreat. So there's 20 of us in town or something. And Chet comes in. And Chet's holding up this iPad in front of his face, and he's like, and I'd done my Opus, which is Built to Lead Speaking, which I love. I talk about I think it's great.
Yeah.
Chet holds this iPad over his face, and I'm thinking at this point, like, I'm gonna go be a coach and I'm gonna do all this stuff. Like, I started to figure some things out, but I wasn't being congruent to my own personal life. And he's like, look, if you have something in front of you, you got to fix that before you can help other people. Mm-hmm. And you know him, like he'll punch you in the face, right? Like awesome guy.
He can sniff the BS.
He sniffs the BS. So it hit me so hard. And that's where 7 Good Minutes, which we've talked about, a great process that I use a lot in the rooms I'm in now, getting to know people and getting them connected. So he took us through that process. And of course I was trying to talk too much and put my own thing. And he called me out on that to listen.
It's kind of funny how you start realizing how much of that stuff's biblical. It's like, hey, take the plank out of your eye before you start worrying about the speck and other people's eye. It's like when I look back on my time going through the Built to Lead process, because we were with Chet for, it was a good 6-7 years.
Was it?
Yeah.
At Lower?
Yep.
Is that? Yeah.
Yep. That's where we got introduced, and our leadership team went through it.
Sure.
And at the time, I hadn't found my faith at a deep level yet.
Yeah.
But then after finding it and looking back on some of the practices that we had, I love that he calls it practice too.
Totally.
Because that's what you're doing, man. You're practicing. So when you got to go put it in play, like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But like looking back on the concepts and how they build on each other, I'm like, man, a lot of this stuff is right here in the Word.
It's incredible.
And so it really is kind of meshed well with me now looking back on it.
Yeah. And he's a faith-driven guy, right? Yeah. It all permeates through that. Yeah, that whole, so he called me out. Actually, you're taking me back now. Carrie had us write a letter to our future self from in the prison. We got to go in one of the prison cells, like by ourselves. That was pretty freaky, by the way. I still have pictures of it. So I wrote a letter to myself, and I never sent it. I think I even maybe put a fake address on it or something, right? Like I was a total fraud at that point, and I was getting called out, and I knew it. I knew God was calling me.
You're like, can I get out of here?
I know,
these
man.
These guys see through me somehow.
Right. I get chills even thinking about it. So, but it was so, I look back, I wouldn't change a thing because it was all just getting called out and trying to, figure out the path. And it, took me still 2 more years until I was with David Milroy, who's pastor at New Albany Presbyterian Church. And I was starting my wife and I had joined our first Bible study, which was incredible. I'd never, like a small group, I'd never been part of a small group before. I wasn't biblically sound at all. Still, I've read the Bible now a few times, but it still would not consider myself
a scholar. Yeah.
No. But it was the first time I was in this environment where other couples were working on stuff. And, so God just pulled me. David Milroy called me out, didn't call me out, but we were in a meeting, and he said, John, have you ever given your life to Christ? And I said, I don't know. What do you mean?
Yeah.
He said, have you ever drawn a line in the sand and prayed and actually committed your life to Christ? And I said, no. So we literally got down on our knees. It's the church 2 miles from here, not even. And he prayed over me. And October 21st, 2015, about 9 a.m. I have it in my calendar. It's a birthday for me. I'll be celebrating 11 here soon. So
that's so cool,
man. From there, and it's amazing because then all these stories are coming up because I was starting to already resurrect my career and change the way I went about things. But it's funny because I knew, and and I was getting the sales, right? Thankfully, I got kind of booted from one team to another. I did have a senior leader, again, talking about biblical, call me one day and he said, John, I still believe in you, but you need to reinvent yourself. And then he paused and said, no, you need to invent yourself. I took that very seriously. So I that's what got.
Well, that's an interesting point. Because the part, it's like if you'd never done it to that point, if you just kind of like let life lead you down a path,
right,
and you were just following the typical performance path that a lot of us follow, you would never actually put much thought into it. Like, who am I? What do I really want to be?
Yeah, it's interesting because the work I do now is essentially the playbook. I'm building the playbook that I wish I had because when I was challenged and encouraged to invent myself, I went out and somewhat created it for myself. So I got in those rooms like Carrie's. I ended up hiring Chet's team to coach me for a couple of years. I did this project in 2015 called Success Habits. This is crazy. So I reached out to 3 of my colleagues and they were all top performers and said, guys, I just want to set up a call and learn how you go about your work just so I can get better. And the third guy I talked to was like, John, this is great. You need to do a readout of this for the team at sales kickoff. So this is like November of 2015, I think. And again, I just committed my life to Christ.
Yeah.
And so, and this is the same room, by the way, 3 years earlier, I had a panic attack at that, doing like an account review. I mean, it's stupid,
something
right?
that you probably done hundreds of times.
A sales guy that like former speech champion. I could talk, but like, and again, I look back, I laugh at God, like, thank you, God, for because I prepare diligently now for anything. But I interviewed these guys. This guy said, you got to do this at sales kickoff. And I knew at that point that even when I had the panic attacks in 2012-ish, I started going to Toastmasters every week for like 2 years. Cause I knew this, if you remember Top Gun, when like Goose dies and they tell Maverick, we got to get this guy back in the plane as soon as possible. Like there's something inside me. Again, I think God pulling me of keep speaking. We're going to figure this out. And sorry, I get a little emotional even thinking about it.
Yeah, but no, it's true.
Yeah, because I mean, the first Toastmasters I went to, they had you just read a bio. And I'm like shaking reading my bio. It was that hard for me.
Yeah.
So I just had to rebuild my confidence.
Yeah.
And allow God to work. And look, that's 14 years ago, right? So I started to take every opportunity to speak I could. So when that guy asked me to speak at Sales Kickoff, right away I said yes. And I ended up interviewing like 40 people, including our CEO, and he gave me 5 minutes on his calendar, and I flew to Chicago and sat with him, and we ended up talking for an hour and a half. And I realized people don't think a lot about how they operate and how they go about their life and their work. And I was asking, how much do you sleep and what do you eat? All this stuff, like productivity, performance stuff that as athletes you're used to because you just do it. You just fuel for performance. And I realized there was so much collective wisdom that it wasn't about me. It was about like collecting the wisdom from everybody else and then pretty much coming and saying, here's what I've learned. Yeah. Not that I have all the answers. So it was a very, I would say, student mindset. And again, both parents were teachers. My wife stays at home, but was a school teacher before we had children. And it's been a wild ride because those were the seeds that were planted to keep learning and then keep sharing what I'm learning.
Being genuinely curious. Yeah. And most people don't get that. Like when you sit across from somebody and you're actually interested from that person, you can feel that. It feels very different. So the information that you get out is crazy. Yeah. Especially if you can get down to that like second, third, fourth level. Sure. It's like, all right, that's who this person really is. That's how they're really operating. That's what they're really worried about, what they're really excited about, all that stuff. And you start to get to those things and it's like, okay, now we can go somewhere. That's that's a good leap off point. That's pretty crazy. So you eventually transitioned out of CCC.
I did. Yeah, I did.
I'm going to get to the book here in a second, but before we do, like, what led you to take the leap of faith and say, okay, I'm ready to go pursue something on my own that is going to go invest in some of the background that I've got, some of the ways that I've figured out myself. How can I go give that away to others and help them through their situations while they're unique? Yeah. a lot of the feelings and the emotions that we have around what we're going through are similar.
Right.
The circumstances are all unique, but you've been able to help tons of people through that, writing the book and then now doing the Giganti Group. Like, what made you say, okay, it's time to... The 25-year career is hard to walk away from.
Sure.
Very secure. You're leaping out into the abyss.
Yeah, look, I've never shared the story publicly, but I'll share it here because I think it's somewhat timely. So someone in my family, I don't want to name the name, but was injured from a vaccine as a baby.
Yeah.
And so my wife has gone deep in that whole world. And when COVID hit, it wasn't an option for me to take the vaccine.
Yep.
And look, I have full respect for everybody. Everybody's got their own personal health journey and decisions. So it's a hard time for any leader.
Yep.
And our company was pretty hard on it. And it's just, early on, we were traveling June of 2020 pretty religiously to go, you figure it out. You go take clients golfing or dinners, whatever it is.
Which gets taxing even.
Oh my gosh. You're wearing masks everywhere. And so, as most of the country did the following year in 21, we basically mandated, hey, you can't be in front. You can't come to the office. Can't come to conferences unless you're vaccinated. And I made the decision not to. And it's not that I pushed back hard, but there were a few other folks in my camp. And there was some leadership that pushed pretty hard on us to make the decision, and I pushed back, and I wanted to protect some of the folks on my team too. And it was really hard because these are deep friendships. You think about 25 years. I have mentors and friends these guys were under a ton of pressure. Senior leaders of get these guys working. We need and it's hard on everybody. And it was a really hard time because it caused some division. But a couple times I was basically told, this may not be the place for you. And I always wanted to write a book. My mom was an English teacher, always encouraged me to write and create. And honestly, it was my plan B. I said, look, I'm gonna write this thing. And it's a lot of time, a lot of energy.
It's an investment for sure.
Investment, year and a half to do it. And look, it was because there was some pressure in the business. Not everybody was happy that I wrote the book, right?
Yeah.
There were people that were questioning.
I'm sure.
If I was all in.
Yeah. You're like, I'm doing this in my spare time, I promise.
Yeah. So now look, the company was great, very amicable. I would say once I published the book and people read it, they realized, so I published in late 22.
Yeah.
Had a conversation with one of our senior leaders, and he said, John, I'm not supporting the book. This is probably August of 22. I think it sends the wrong message that people could have side hustles or whatever else. And I said, Scott, that's okay. I get it, man. I promise there's good intentions with this. I hope you change your mind. By the way, I would bring in keynote speakers for our sales kickoff. So ever since I did that Success Habits speech in 2015, they had me bring in speakers. So I brought in James Clear in 2018 and Alan Stein in 2019. And so I kind of became like a figurehead so that's what kind of got me into professional keynote speaking because I was bringing speakers in. I'm like, man, this is fun. Let me do more of this. So the book came out October of 22. And a month later, I'm about to sign a contract to bring in a speaker for $20,000 for our January kickoff. And I got a call from that same leader, and he said, cancel the contract. We want you to do the closing keynote at kickoff. And so something changed. I had one of those initial guys I interviewed for Success Habits was actually a devout Christian guy.
Yeah.
And when I interviewed him in 2015, he talked about chair time and spending your first hour with God.
Yeah.
And so here I was trying to, research how to get better and be productive. And he's like, no, this is what I do every day to start my day. His name's Chris Shepard.
To the outsider, it's going to look like the least productive hour of my day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was so important to me because I was blown away by that. And I started a practice of chair time every day since 2015. Not perfect, by the way, but I'd say 80-90% of my days now that's how I start the day. But this guy, they end up having me do the keynote in 23, which I was pretty scared with. It was a pretty big audience, and it's like in my company, and still the scar tissue from the panic attacks are still there.
And you're getting more vulnerable because you're about ready to. You just poured your life into this book.
Yeah. I put it out there, and it went really well. Sales leader got on stage. Newer sales leader came in, got on stage, said, "John, this humanizes our business." Told the whole audience, 250 people, get John in front of all of our clients because we need this. And I started speaking. I started speaking at conferences and whatnot. Eventually, the company, and again, I totally get it. Great. I still love CCC. They tried to, they wanted to put parameters around it, right? Like, which I understand. And we just decided to amicably split. It took some time to do that, but I wanted to give this a go. I want this with intention. Again, you look at the past with Chet and Carrie and all the whole journey, and you realize, I want to be able to help people.
Yeah. All
in the light of Jesus, right? All for the glory of God. So, but is there a way I can help individuals, companies, sports teams, everything else do it the right way?
Yeah.
You can't always be overtly spiritual too, that, right? Yep. But there's certainly seeds that are always planted. So
sometimes it's a process for people.
For sure.
Because if they've got no familiarity or background of faith, and you come in and you only talk in those terms and you're speaking that language, it's like almost like it's falling on deaf ears. Not maybe because it's not that they're unreceptive to it, it's just over their head.
Yeah.
So sometimes it needs to be a process.
Sure.
And you take that for granted if you're like a seasoned, experienced Christian, you're swinging in Christian circles, and a lot of these things that we say to us are common language and it seems real normal, but then you go get the outsider who's never been to church, maybe didn't grow up with any kind of faith.
So true.
You start speaking to them like that and they're like, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes you do have to ease them into it.
Yeah, I always say it's not like I'm coming in thumping people over the head with the Bible,
Yep.
but every corporate environment I'm in, I will share the story, and I will talk about 2 Corinthians and power made perfect in weakness. A lot of what I do is around mental health.
Yeah,
someone's either battling, probably 50% of people are, or they know someone that is, right? So it resonates with most audiences. And I usually preface it like, look, I'm not sure what your faith is, but let me just share that this is applicable to everybody.
Well, let me read this real quick. Because
no,
what you're talking about makes a lot of sense. All right, so this is on page 109 in your book.
Okay.
I always tell people actually read your books. Your book's really good.
Thank you.
This is chapter 6 from 109, and the chapter's title is The Outcomes of With Intention. So it's living with intention is the surest way to leave a lasting legacy. But here's the opening paragraph. It says, build yourself, serve others. That's the premise of this book. Be intentional about both. One without the other is no good. Our world is in desperate need of people who live with intention.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've just been describing is build yourself, which you obviously needed it, and then serve others.
Sure.
And you're using all that experience that you've garnered going through, the pit and going through some of the stuff that's like really, really troubling and difficult in life. But then you're using those experiences to not only give them the framework for what pulled you out, but then you're going and serving them with it.
For sure.
Give me your take on this quote. I mean, when you say our world's in desperate need of people who live with intention.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So for me, it's a both and. So you build yourself so that you can serve others. If you do too much building of yourself, you're cocky, selfish, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
If you do too much serving of others, you're not taking care of yourself. And I see that a lot. We see both of them a lot. So for me, in the
or the burnout is going to come because you're just spraying activity everywhere, but you're not grounded.
Yeah, and it's this false sense of humility. And now it comes from a good place, but it's like, it's not about me, it's about others.
Yeah.
So it's like putting on your oxygen mask, the flight attendant on an airplane. You can't take care of your kids next to you if you're not alive.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big believer in, focus on yourself, fuel yourself, whatever that is. So your chair time in the morning with God, or your workouts, or what you're eating, puts you in position to serve your family.
Yeah.
And what you're doing with Tithe is incredible. So if you don't take care of yourself, you're not gonna be able to do that.
Yeah.
When I was doing this success habits research and I interviewed 40 people, I was blown away by how many people were good, very successful on paper, but struggling with sleep and stress and everything else. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're all very fraudulent in a lot of ways, and the world's in need of a different path. And so I believe and I built these two flywheels. So it's give Jim Collins credit from good to great. This idea of a flywheel becomes momentum. So when you build it, the self-intention model is 5 things. I call it finding your A game. So there's 5 A's: awareness, agency, ambition, action, and adjustment. So I think if you focus on those 5 things, but you don't do it for yourself, you do it so you can show up better for others.
Yeah.
Sincerity, empathy, resourcefulness, value, and energy are as a serve model. And so, man, I built that because I needed to do it for myself to get myself out of the pit. And then when I realized serving my clients, and so instead of showing up selling stuff, I would show up and do whiteboard sessions and say, I don't care about us. I care about where you want to go. Tell me, what's a 10 out of 10 if we're sitting in this room a year from now?
Yeah. I
had clients that would, and I don't even know why I lucked into that process, but I did it. And I had clients literally say, we've never thought about our business this deep. You talk about layer 3 or 4. Yeah. Well, it built so much trust because wasn't just trying to sell stuff. Well, guess what happened? We would whiteboard everything, see their vision, and then be able to come back with 10 different things. Here's how we think we can help. 8 of which were just helping with products they already use, reporting or whatever it was. 2 of them were new products that they could buy to help get to where they wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so I was like, honestly, sales became somewhat easy, and again, somewhat lucked into it. But that whole, again, if I didn't go through that process of building myself, I wasn't going to be able to serve, right? And so, and I would say certainly serving is first, right? But you just have to put yourself in position to do it. So I don't know if I'm answering your question per se, but I do, as I talk to, you look at Cavelli, right? I just did this workshop for 35 of their general managers, largest Panera franchise in the country. We had one of the things coming out of it, I'm big on, you talk about reps, where the sports stuff comes in. When someone asks me to do a keynote or a workshop, I say yes, but I say it's not going to move the needle. If you really want to move the needle, let's talk about a process. Yeah. So I have we do a lot of profiling, behavioral assessments, personality assessments, to help people understand wiring. But then it's, what do you do? So coming out of, call it, how many keynotes or workshops have you been through that 2 days later you forget about it?
Most of them. And the dirty secret of I always tell people if they're getting ready to speak and they're nervous, I'm like, just know that only 25% of the people are even listening to you.
Yeah.
During the talk.
Yes.
75% are their cell phones buzzing, they're looking at their text, they're daydreaming about what they're hungry, they don't know, they're just not thinking about whatever you're saying.
Totally.
So only a quarter of those people, you're speaking to 100 people, 25 are actually even listening in the moment.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you're lucky, 5 of them will do anything with it.
Right.
It's just such a small percentage that actually use the information. You might as well not be nervous.
It's so good.
It's funny though, isn't it?
It is so true. Well, so I'm trying to change that, right? So I go into a room and I have a commitment software partner that I use that you just set up a simple habit that you track for 28 days. Yeah. And you rate yourself scale of 1 to 10 and you journal on it. And by the way, not everybody does it. So in a room full of 35, there's, everybody signs up on the spot, but not everybody sticks to the process over.
And that's why, not to bring up Chet again, but he always said, focus on the few, because you're only going to have a few who really dive in, but those few will move mountains.
Yes.
And you can't focus on the many.
So
it's
true.
just it's never going to work.
Yeah.
So you find the few who actually want to go for it, and you focus there, and then together you can go take ground. But it's
good, and I think of it as the art of the possible too. So I'll give you one example. And I just published on LinkedIn about this. One of the leaders, the GMs, talked about the process, and you can see it in the journaling, going from anxiety driven and inward focused to team focused and thinking about the team first. But I would argue he put himself in position. That's a self intention. He was doing the work. And it's so simple, Mark. It's when instead of I will is a structure. So a trigger comes. So this individual was, look, when I start my day, instead of thinking about myself first, I will get curious and take one action to help the team or whatever. It's something that simple.
Yeah.
And the accountability of rating yourself 1 to 10 and journaling on it, I've seen it now thousands of times, just over the course of time, you get better and you start to see the scores go up and you start to see the journaling becoming way more positive. So by the end of this, this guy said, like, the whole process changes entire approach to leadership. And I'm going, that's it. That's why this work is so freaking important.
That's it right there.
Because if you can move that needle, and that's why I'm all in on the approach, because it is the speaking reps for me. Like, the score takes care of itself eventually if you put the time in.
Yep.
It's volleyball. How many times did you practice? And go ahead.
All the way to the point where it's muscle memory and you don't have to think about it. Because then you're thinking about the impact of your action on what it does outside of yourself versus having to think about what is my body doing to make sure that contact is right.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you're looking for in leadership too, is like you need the reps so that when you're presented with the situations, you're no longer thinking about yourself.
Yep.
That's all just happening. The curious questions are coming out. Like, you're starting to focus more on the team and the impact they can have on the customer or the community or whatever it is you're trying to influence. You're thinking about the influence that you're going to give off, not thinking about what should I do.
So good.
What I should do is already built into my process because I've practiced it. I know what to do. I'm thinking now, is what I'm doing having the correct impact and what tweaks? You said adjustment. That's the last day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the reps, you don't know what to do, then you're at square one.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you've already done all the hard
100%.
work, the foundation's been laid.
Yeah.
All this stuff is so common sense when it's coming out of one of our mouths.
Yeah.
But doing it in practice is like,
well, what does Chet say?
Really hard.
Chet says all the time, simple, not easy. I rip that off from him all day long and his coaches. It's simple. The with intention process, tithing.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's not easy.
Correct.
We all struggle with it because you want to keep. But like, can you trust the process
100%
and keep imperfectly taking action? Like, just because we've written books doesn't mean we're perfect at all. I would argue, like, very imperfect, and
just means you've taken time to discover what you didn't know before.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question. What kind of rhythms do you have? So this With Intention book, like, what intentional things do you have where you're like, all right, I've built them into my life. They're tried and true. This is what I do. Yeah.
So that chair time every morning is crucial for me. Working out is crucial for me. I have to sweat. For me, it's psychological more than even physical, although the physical piece is important too. Actually walk more now than I ever have, which I always used to make fun of walking.
Dude, me too. I used to tell my wife, if I ever get to the point where walking is exercise, take me out back and shoot me. And now I do it. I'm like, oh man.
Well, here's what I try to actually walk to start my day as well. And actually it's kind of my God time is walking. I try to not have, will bring my phone with me, but I don't like to listen to stuff. Maybe sometimes a Bible, once in a while, a book or a podcast or something. But I've been trying to quiet my mind as much as possible. And I always pray, come Holy Spirit. I think Nikki Gumbel I learned that in Alpha. I took an Alpha class early on in my full surrender days. And just spending time with God. Actually, Bill Montgomery from 104.9 he brought this book to our Truth at Work group, Lead with Prayer, I think it's called. One of the things is called, the concept is wasting time with God, right? And it's like, can you just be with and be silent and still and let
It's
God,
hard to do.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it should be, but man, it is.
Yeah. I mean, think about like, my phone's off right now, but I know I probably have 20 emails and text messages and whatever else. You're running a company,
100%.
like you got your foundation. There's a lot going on, family.
Yep.
How about you? Do you mind if I like?
The rhythms? Yeah. Dude, well, you just mentioned two of mine. I mean, chair time. So every day I start with the word. I won't start without it. So like, and trust me, sometimes I get down to my office and I want to start on other stuff because there's things that'll pop up. I'm in bed at night and it's 10 o'clock and I see 3 emails come over. I know they need attention.
Yeah.
But just not starting until you read the Bible. So I've got a thing I do. It's just one chapter in the Old Testament, chapter in Psalm or Proverbs, and a chapter in the New Testament.
Yeah,
so every day I'm just rotating through all the time.
Yeah.
And then after I do that, actually pray.
Okay.
And sometimes my prayers are really good. Sometimes it's really focused and it's really with God and it's for others and I've got a rhythm with that. And sometimes my brain is like spinning 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
And I just tell Jesus, this is your time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But my brain's racing.
Yeah.
So if you want me to focus on something, interrupt me.
There you go.
Like, please, like Holy Spirit, come, like go ahead and interrupt this thought process and have something crash into this head of mine
For
that
sure.
isn't what's in there right now. If you want it, you take it. But
so on the way over, I prayed this morning, and I always say, even before any talk I give or anything, I always say, Lord, put the words in my mouth that you want me to speak, and take the words out that you don't. And that's a freeing thing of like, hey, I'm connected with the Lord, and this is just, I'm going to put it out there. Now you got to do the work, right? So I think about from a speaking standpoint too. I had a speaking coach, Michael Porter, who always said, be helpful, not good. That's the unlock. And I think
that
you
is
said,
true.
You're amazing in front of audiences. I've seen you speak, and I think that's innately
be helpful, not good though. I'm gonna rip that off.
Isn't that great?
100%.
Yeah, totally freed me up. Every time I speak now, I prepare, but I'm always like, oh yeah, dummy, be helpful, not good. It's not about you. It's about the audience. And
I'm not worried about like being the most polished. It's like who can take something out of this and actually implement it.
Yeah, you're not going to say every word perfectly, but how do you show up
really good,
present?
Well, you mentioned another one of mine that it isn't on my script, but I'll ask you about it. Journaling. So journaling is like, it's a practice where I do it every single day, every day.
Yeah.
No matter what. And it's a good process because I can look back and see when certain ideas were born. I can also see when certain relationships got started that have like blossomed into something I couldn't imagine living without today. Or when something happened where I was just really struggling with it, or I was just like, why is this here, God? Like, why am I dealing with this? Now in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, wow, if that trouble or that struggle would not have happened, what's been birthed from it would also never have happened. You just get so much benefit of seeing God's fingerprints on your life when you write it down. Yeah. Because you can't remember everything.
It's so
you mentioned it. I mean, is that a practice that you do?
No, I would say not enough of like long form type journaling. Now you go through a built to lead process, and they're big on writing every day, and you would have to send it to a coach.
Yeah.
You know, as painful as that is sometimes, it's awesome. And I've heard that journaling being referred to as the windshield wipers of the soul.
Yeah.
Which I love that. And when you do it, it's just like doing your chair time, your God time. It's just the day goes better, right? No 100%. Matter what happens. And I would argue the same for journaling. So yes, I do it, but I would say it's not a daily practice.
Not as like regimented.
Yeah. But it's something I should do because I have enough, and I like to handwrite too.
Same.
It is pretty interesting to look back on stuff and to see. Right?
You just said handwrite. I got an idea I want to run by. Yeah. With how much AI content is being produced. Yeah. I almost think that like books need to be handwritten by the author at this point. Yeah. Just to prove that it's actually a real human thought. Right. Because nobody, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but you just look at the amount of content being shoved out into the world. And it's like, how do I know who this is even from or anyone? It's
so interesting because when I use AI now, I have Claude and ChatGPT, and it understands my writing style. It's a better writer than me. Let's face it.
Oh, right? It is. Like it puts concepts together fast.
It's unbelievable.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
And so one of the things, I write a weekly newsletter I publish on Saturday mornings, and I voice text the concept, and then I have a Claude project that helps me polish it. Yeah. And I struggle with it sometimes because I'm like, all right, is it really authentically me if Claude is polishing this? But it's and one of the filters I put on it is I want this to help the reader, write it like it's to one person, and make it low cognition for them. I want them to be able to like pick it up and just ingest it.
Oh, you want it to flow, right?
Yes, but to your point, we're losing the art of the practice and the suffering, right? There is think about. You could go create a deck now for a presentation. Yeah, we could. If you and I had a presentation in 30 minutes, we could go right now and Claude.
It would look pro.
And it would look pro. Yeah. And I've done this. But there's something missing in the suffering of the process that gets you to prep for that meeting, that you know the material cold.
And I also think that you notice in the meeting if someone's actually poured themselves into it. Yeah. Yeah. Versus not.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I like where you're headed. Yeah, maybe there is more of an authenticity to handwrite something.
I mean, you can't read it. I mean, so my idea was, it's a separate project, but on the left, you have a picture of the handwritten notes from the author, and then on the right is the actual typed so you can read it. But it's like to prove that this is actually something from a lived human experience. Right. Versus just conjured up from... Right. All over the place. Yeah, I don't know. There might be something to it because when I read things, I want to get to know the person because you want to be able to feel the experience, feel the struggle, and understand what's brought them out of it.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't want just some cold computer language that sounds polished, but like I can't get to know whose name is on the book. Like when I read your book or I know you and your name's on it.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it right now. It's a real thing.
Sure.
Versus if you just asked, AI to write a book about intentions, and it did, it would just be you're just talking conceptually.
So what do you think about, like, have you seen The Odyssey yet?
Mm-mm.
So I went and saw it, and it's from a cinematography perspective. I'm not a huge movie buff, but my son and I went to see it. I mean, it was breathtaking. Like you watch it and you know the story of the Odyssey, and it's so polished. But that's how the arts are a lot of times, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
music, it's not like people just show up and, you have songwriters that do it, but then they polish it over the course of time. So I don't know. Is there like an element of if the polishing helps the end, like the reader, I think that's...
I think it helps. I think what's going to end up happening is just like it always does. Basically, the demand of the people who are buying will dictate where this goes.
And some people will want authenticity. I want the handwritten, imperfect copy. Yeah, I've been... The
demand will dictate it all because we're about ready to reach a peak where... so Josh, who's producing the show, we were talking before, there's only there's a calculatable amount of human attention span that's out there.
Sure.
And that's really what we're trying to go figure out. Okay, there's only so much attention span available on a daily basis in a certain geography. There's a number of people, and then there's a number of time that we have that's not working, sleeping, eating, going to the bathroom.
Right.
Like what's left over, that's the maximum allowable human attention span. And there's about to be way more content that can be absorbed. So depending on where that demand shift goes is going to dictate what the output starts to look like. And I think that people want authentic. And I think over the next couple of years, it's going to become real obvious.
The human to human connection, for me, I feel like that's going to become way more important.
Yep.
And not to say I'm all in on AI. It's incredible. I use Claude Cowork every day. It's my chief of staff now. It gives me a briefing every day, combs my emails and all my Fathom transcripts. And it's unbelievable what it can do.
Helps you stay on task. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Because I drop stuff. That's not my unique ability. But I know because I've done the work on it. Like human to human contact is where, and I presume that for you too.
Yep.
So like this stuff becomes way more important. Face-to-face meetings,
totally.
Grab coffee, your quarterly events with Tithe Foundation, like all that community connection stuff. And so I would, if I look at, as I tell him, my son just graduated high school, he's 18, and sometimes he's a little introverted.
Yeah.
But he's good in front of people. People really resonate with him, and he helps people feel seen and all this stuff. But he doesn't naturally love it. And I keep saying to him, like, Gabe, this is God's put something special in you, so you have to live into this. And he'll come at some point and realize it, but
late teenage phase. Well, let's talk on that for a second.
Yeah.
What rhythms have you guys built in as a family?
Yeah.
So between your wife, obviously kids.
Yeah.
Your youngest is how old now?
12. Yeah,
12.
daughter,
Okay, so
Emerson. Yeah.
You've got one who's graduating high school.
Yeah.
You got another one still coming up.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've done intentionally to shift your family's focused on time and how you guys operate?
Yeah, we try to eat meals together as much as possible. This day and age, harder with our kids are in activities all the time, right? So I'm actually coaching Emerson's soccer team this year, which is a blast.
That's kind of cool.
U13 girls soccer. Girls are more receptive than boys, I would say, because I used to coach my sons.
Especially at 12 and 13. 12 and 13, so I think I like that. That's like peak idiot in a boy's brain, because I have a 12-year-old right now.
Yeah.
Super intelligent, but then we'll still go do the dumbest thing you can possibly think of. It's like, hey, what's the dumbest thing I can do right now with the available materials?
Right.
And then somehow they figure out how to do that.
It's kind of funny. It's good. That's a part of the process.
Yep.
Let me caveat this to say we could be better at it too. My wife and I try and go for walks. We have a cool little park across from our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Don't do nearly enough dates, I would say, which is important. But but family wise, we just went to Hocking Hills for a couple of days, which was amazing. Actually, my middle daughter went on a mission trip in the Dominican, which is a whole nother story. That was incredible.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah, so she went with Genoa Chur. It was amazing. But I took my son, daughter, and wife. We rented a cabin for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So just trying to spend time together. I would say our best times are somewhat serendipitous, of like meals and just conversations.
Yeah.
We have served together a good amount. We've gone on a couple mission trips together in the past, which has been, those are the best, right? I wish we could do that every single year. We don't. We probably should. That's
It sounds like the just the normal life rhythms are more important than like the spectacular moments.
Yeah.
Like the walks with your wife, the dinner around the same table, the being there at practice and coaching your daughter. I mean, those are the things I think that people miss. Is like, you don't have to be a hero all the time. You just be there throughout the day.
I would say too, this is a big learning for me. What my youngest daughter, soccer player, is starting to put a lot of time in herself and starting to improve pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I haven't forced that, but I will tell you this. She says, we'll just go play in the backyard. And my son used to play too. And when my wife's awesome. She, like, every birthday or Father's Day, she has the kids fill out a card of like, what's your favorite thing about dad? And, you know,
that's
they're
awesome.
funny jokes, whatever. But my son, his favorite thing he put last year was kicking the soccer ball with dad in the backyard while we would like have a barbecue or something. So you don't, when you're doing that stuff with the kids, you don't realize how important it is and the impact it makes. And this is not, I am not one of these like drill sergeant dads, and I don't coach in the backyard when we're kicking the ball. We're just having fun, unless they ask and whatever. But it's just the act of, I would say, presence and that. And so
it is funny when like your kids mention the thing that like you're doing as an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like you're just making some food and filling some time, but to them, man, it means the world.
Everything. Time. Yeah. It's just time. Don't overthink it. That would be my encouragement to any parent or leader. Don't overthink. It's the same thing with a sales team, right? Like I used to think about this a lot when I had my team, because I had some leaders. So I'm sure you have plenty of stories, but it felt very transactional. And I get it, because business is humming and you got to move. And you could tell they're trying to get off the phone. And I know there's time for that, but I always tried to say, like, give the conversation space and let the person talk. And sometimes you're on the phone for 90 minutes and it's not convenient, but you better believe that builds trust and connection.
Oh, it goes farther for the employee. Well,
yes.
Final question, and I ask it to everybody.
Yeah.
For the leader who's listening, who has their faith in place, but for whatever reason has been reluctant to integrate it into their work or their life, or doesn't know how to let it out, maybe just a little scared or nervous to do so. Yeah. What encouragement would you give to that person?
Yeah, I would say pray on it and take imperfect action. So we started Bible study at CCC, kind of underground, about 7 or 8 years ago with that guy, Chris Shepard, who helped introduce me to Chair Time. Yeah. And it was pushed back on. The company didn't love it, but we still did it. And it was amazing how people started to gravitate and come to that. So if you do it the right way, you're not, doing it disrespectfully. Yeah. I mean, I'll go back to any corporate room I'm in that I express my faith. The feedback I get from people is it's so obvious you're a Christian, but you don't come throwing punches at everybody. Like you plant the seeds. I try to do that in the book too. But I think you'd be amazed at what God will do if you take bold action and put it out there. Good things will happen.
Yeah, don't be afraid of how big. Yeah, don't be afraid to start small. Yeah, and just take a humble step, one after another.
And if you do it with love and care, no one's gonna bat an eye.
Yeah, you're gonna be okay.
And I have so many people that come up to me after I talk, and they're like, "Thank you so much," and they'll share their faith story, right? And again,
all it takes is one, and then all of a sudden it starts coming out of the woodwork. Yeah. The people who were nervous, as soon as one person steps, all of a sudden now they've got the courage to step.
Oh my gosh, that's it. To you taking action, it allows someone else the freedom to 100%. Take action.
Well, dude, I'll put links to everything that you've got in show notes, but obviously I can't recommend the book enough. It's With Intention by Jon Giganti. And then as far as like keynote speaking, leadership development courses, things like that, how do they find you? Yeah, so gigantigroup.com is my website. It's got a bunch of stuff on there. LinkedIn, you can follow, connect with me there. And I love it, man. This is great. Congrats on your book. It's fantastic, and all your impact. I need to interview you now. Hey, man, we'll do it. We'll do it. Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks, man.
That wraps us up. If you guys want access to prior episodes, resources, anything else, you can get it at markgreaves.com. But we're over now. Thank you for watching the First in Focus show. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and then share with a friend.